Yacht A, She'e Micheon Gorman Yanishe, Twa Hiklini Nishle, Kia Ani Bashachin, Senja Kinedeshache, Sitnajini Eda Shanella. My name is Micheon Gorman, and I'm the Prevention Program Manager at the Phoenix Indian Center, working through the Urban Indian Coalition of Arizona. Thank you for joining me for self-care and what you can do. Today we're talking about what self-care is, why it's so vital for parents today to have this crucial tool, talking about tips and strategies to increase your self-care, and we're going to do a little bit of practice. So first of all, what is self-care? Pretty self-explanatory, it seems, right? So how we take care of ourselves. However, we bring it up today because we know that, traditionally speaking, many community members consider themselves to be traditional caretakers. We take care of our children, we respect our elders, and we make sure that we're giving back to our communities. We value very much our families and our community, and what that usually means is that we put others first. So when we talk about self-care, it can sometimes come off as a very foreign concept. Why would I take care of myself when I have so many other people to take care of? But it's really, really important for us to take care of ourselves, because if we don't pause, burnout can ensue. If you see on your screen a candle that's flickering, we often see ourselves as a candle, a light, if you will. Someone who is being strong and trying to be a pillar in our community. However, if we don't take that time, that candle will burn out. Our ability to care for others can diminish if we don't take care of ourselves and allow ourselves time to rest and reflect. So, some tips for self-care. The first thing that we recommend for all community members is to create a self-care checklist. What is that? It's basically a way of asking yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling upset? Do I have anxiety? These are all questions that sometimes can seem very scary, but they're important to ask. Identifying what our emotions are the first step to finding out how we can take care of ourselves. And so I would ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is that feeling? If, for example, I am feeling anxiety, do I feel like, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5? Do I feel like a 9 or even a 10? A 10 would look like a blow up, out of control. A 0 obviously would mean that we don't have any anxiety and we're feeling pretty great. If your rating is higher than a 5 on that scale, what is it that you could do to decrease that number? So again, I want you to imagine if you're feeling a certain feeling, for example, anxiety, I would ask myself, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I'm at that brink, a 10, then I definitely need to take a step back. And when we do this, we can identify what that emotion is and take some careful steps to draw that number down. If I'm at a 9, for example, all I would ask myself is, how can I bring myself to an 8? At that point, how can I bring myself back down to a 7? The idea is that we want to give ourselves some manageable tasks so that we can lower that number. However, if it's on the other end, for example, we're feeling happy, what are some things that I could do to increase that level? So, for example, maybe we need to listen to some music. Maybe I need to take a long bath or meditate, smudge and pray, or call a friend. The second thing that we need to do after we've identified what our feeling is and what that number is ask some very basic questions. Have I eaten? Have I drank any water today? A lot of times when we're experiencing things, especially negative emotions, we can tend to forget things that are very simple, even breathing. So have I eaten anything and have I drank water today? Very important things that can help us regulate our bodies to increase that number from a 5 to a 6 if we're trying to increase our happiness, or lower that number from a 7 to a 6 if we're experiencing a negative emotion. Did I take time to do something that I love? This is a question that we ask at the end of that checklist, just because, once we've identified their feeling, maybe we're increasing it or decreasing it by drinking some water, eating a snack, or maybe even taking a nap. Have I included something that's going to stimulate my mind and make me feel better, or even take my thoughts away from that particular emotion? Now, I use the terms positive and negative very loosely here. I just want to note that. All emotions are valid. All emotions aren't neither good nor bad. However, if we feel that our body is responding in a negative way, we want to decrease that feeling. If we feel like we're experiencing a positive feeling, we obviously want to increase that. And so by utilizing this checklist, again, first identifying what the feeling is, secondly, rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, and then asking ourselves if we've addressed our body in at least the most basic ways. Have I drank water, or have I eaten a snack? And then, did I do something to stimulate myself in a positive way? Secondly, we can look at different types of tools to help monitor where we are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll see on the screen a wheel here that looks very similar to a medicine wheel. In our American Indian communities, we do like to address ourselves in a whole body perspective, right? So again, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And you'll see here some ideas that we have that you can create to make sure that you are stimulating your mind and your body in ways that are positive and hopefully will increase those positive feelings. In the spiritual sense, we might look at praying and connecting as a way of grounding ourselves and balancing out our spiritual emotions. And we can do that in a number of ways. Again, we could smudge, pray, make prayer ties, listen to something that is spiritually stimulating. Emotionally, we want to make sure that we're checking in with ourselves. And that's kind of that asking your question, right? What feeling am I having, and what is my score from 1 to 10? Again, we can listen to music, we can watch movies or see something funny that can help our emotions kind of be stimulated in a more positive realm. Physically, again, at the very center, you're going to see there eating and sleeping. Whenever we experience something, especially trauma or crisis, sometimes our body can just be neglected. And what I mean by that is that we can forget our very basic stimulus for life, which is drinking water, resting, and sometimes even breathing. And so to help our bodies, we can do certain things like drinking water, going for a walk. Especially now, we want to be mindful of washing our hands and other basic hygiene measures. Mentally, we're going to want to breathe and meditate to sort of calm our minds. And that can look different for different people. You'll notice on this wheel, we have exercise, which again was in our physical realm. But by doing so, we could be going on a nature walk. We're stimulating our breathing. We're calming our senses. That can also include things like reading, doing yoga, and other things that help to calm our mind and focus on something individual. These are all just examples of things that you can do to help stimulate that self-care. And eventually, over time, we would want to increase all of these activities as often as we can. During a pandemic, especially, we want to make sure that we're thinking out of the box, right? We're thinking creatively about those ways that we can stimulate each of these different realms. And right now, I want to take a time to do an activity. You can take just a few moments to write down what you do currently for self-care, or maybe what you could do. Some of us have some really great ideas, such as journaling. Maybe we draw. Personally, I'm a stick figure person, so that's not my go-to, right? I might spend some time with my family or go for a walk with a dog, or sometimes even just looking at images of nature is very helpful. It's important, again, that we think outside of the box, because right now we're a little bit limited to some of the things that we can do, but we still have to be actively creative for our community and also for our family. If you don't have ideas, we definitely ask you to reach out for us. We're able to talk with you if you have any issues trying to create those ideas. we definitely recommend going online and finding some things that maybe you haven't done before. And now we want to actually practice some of these mindfulness exercises. So we've talked a bit about what self-care is. We've talked about some checklist items that we can do to monitor what self-care is, or if we're experiencing crisis or trauma. We've also discussed some holistic approaches that we can use in order to engage ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, and culturally. But now I just want you to take just a moment. Practice softening your forehead, unclench your jaw, drop those shoulders. Oh, even right now, I felt that. A lot of us, especially, you're probably looking at your screen right now and you hold a lot of tension in your body, especially the upper body, because we're giving a lot of focus to our screens. We're focusing on what the material is. And so if you just take this moment to release that body, what physical relief we can feel from just a 2-second focus on what our body is feeling and letting that go. Very important to do. And now we're going to walk through a mindfulness breathing exercise, or what we call 4-7-8 breathing. And what this is going to look like is you're going to inhale for 4 seconds. You're going to hold that breath for 7 seconds. And then you're going to exhale for 8 seconds. By doing this very, very quick exercise, you're going to be able to focus your mind and your body all at the same time. All right, are you ready? Comfortable position. Again, we're inhaling for 4, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8. The way that this is best done is by inhaling through the nose, holding, and then exhaling through the mouth. Now, as you're doing this, I know I'm not there with you, but it's very important that you can hear all of that's happening there. You want to inhale, hold for 7, and then exhale. All right, let's practice. Inhale, hold, exhale. And if you're like me, you might need to practice that. So go ahead and do it right again. And you can do this exercise as many times as you like. And I want to say that this exercise is so helpful. It's for free, and you can do it any given time of your day. Whether you're driving, whether you're watching a webinar, you're cooking at home, doing a 4-7 breathing exercise is very, very helpful for your body. And remember, whenever we're stressed out, we can actually forget to breathe. So practice as often as you can. All it takes is a few seconds for you to help focus your mind and body. Let's try it one more time. You might need to practice a little bit. If you have to work your way into it, I definitely encourage you to practice inhaling, holding, and exhaling. You don't have to get it perfect the first time. If it takes you a few minutes, it's okay. It just means your body has been needing that practice. And now the next one is yawn and stretch. Very, very simple, just as it sounds, right? So you're going to use your body just to inhale, reach overhead, and stretch as high as you can, and then exhale on the way out, dropping those arms. Ready? And in this exercise, not only have I engaged my breathing, but I'm also physically moving my body to allow for more inhale to come into my body and exhale to come out. Really, really great exercise. Only takes a few seconds. Again, try that with me. We're going to inhale and stretch. So the yawn there, you can hear that breath coming on out, and it sounds very much like a yawn. So again, free, fun exercise. And the last thing we encourage you to do is to establish that virtual neighborhood. Again, we know that during a pandemic, it's very, very difficult to outreach to the people that we love. But that social connection is very important to us. As human beings, and especially as Indigenous community members, having a social connection with people is extremely vital. So we encourage you to create that community of people that you normally would communicate with on a physical level on a regular basis, and make sure that you're reaching out either through social media, make a Zoom meeting, call them up, FaceTime, whatever it is that you would do on a normal basis to communicate, transfer that over to a virtual setting. We definitely want to encourage social distancing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're socially disconnecting. We have to create those avenues, again, to communicate with people that we love, because that helps us to vent, to socially connect, and to make sure that we're reaching out when we need that help. A reminder, we do need that human connection, so make sure that you're making it in the best way that you know how. And last thing that I want to share is that we know that this is a time of isolation for many people, and that's very, very difficult. So if you need to talk to someone to help, work through or process any of the emotions that you might be feeling, we want to provide a few resources to you. The first is the Crisis Response Network Warm Line. Very different from a hotline, right? So a hotline is when we're in crisis. At the bottom of your screen, you will find the crisis line. But if you're just wanting to anonymously talk to somebody about some feelings that you might be having that you need to process, that's what the Warm Line is for. And that number is 602-347-1100. Again, in a crisis situation, if you are looking for someone to help you process that, or maybe even for a family member, that number is 602-222-9444. There's also a toll-free number, 800-631-1314. If in your family or for you yourself, you do need to reach out and you find yourself in crisis or experiencing thoughts of suicide, we like to share the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline that is accessible 24/7. This is a confidential service that anyone can use at any given time. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255. If maybe you're not ready to talk over the phone, you can also find this information for free online at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I'd like to thank you very much for attending this workshop. We hope that you're staying safe and that you're definitely utilizing all those self-care tips that we shared today. Ahiha.